Chris Cuomo interviewing Bill Maher. See, all of these pundits. I'm sick and tired of all of these journalists, supposedly journalists, who are cashing in.
Because I'm keeping it casual. Bill Maher is back. We discuss all through the commercial, and I'll let you know what I'm talking about. Because it's a rare opportunity, not to flatter you know me better than that, but you have a gift for thinking through things in a way that the group is missing. And more than anything else, I would have done this often, just for the benefit of you now. Trump, things are different. The animus is harnessed in a way that you haven't seen before. Trump, you believe, is a clear and present threat to the democracy. He will run again, he will be the nominee, and you believe he will give the Democrats all they can handle. Why Trump still?
Well, he talks to people in a way that doesn't sound like a politician. People were choking him so hard for political correctness. I don't know about it.
I was on it.
Yeah, right, that's right. And it's only gotten worse. And here's a guy, when you think about the kind of people who vote for him, they could not be less president. You know, this is New Yorker, billionaire, you know, 5 kids by 3 different wives. I mean, everything that the Republican Party used to stand against. But he doesn't talk like a politician. You know, we make fun of him because of his limited vocabulary. To a lot of people, that's how people talk. And he never backs down. Even when he's completely wrong and done something horrible. But in a world where everyone is always apologizing for everything, that comes off as refreshing.
But see, Bill Maher, he says that Trump supporters are just billionaires. That's not true.
I think they are not.
They're the billionaires on the right. What about the billionaires on the left?
I mean, porn stars, messing with porn stars.
But
their wife is pregnant. No,
I see agrarians
and I don't think they think
who
anyone else
sided
did that.
with
I
Trump
don't think
because they
anyone else made
bring
fun
back
of
the
him.
jobs to America.
Or,
Problem is,
at his fake university, or rob charities. I mean, he is everything wrong in good stuff.
they followed the
Some
piper.
poor man.
That's not what
Political
Trump is
insiders
about.
do a lot of that stuff. And they don't watch us.
But
So
this
they don't know.
only billionaires vote for Trump is not
So
true.
Don't talk about it. Or say that's not really true. You know, the same stuff's true about Biden or Clinton or Harris or fill in the blank.
Some of it, yes. I mean, something like Hunter Biden. I mean, if Don Jr. had done what Hunter Biden had done, it would be every night, all night on MSNBC. But the fact that it's Hunter Biden and Joe's on the blue team, see, that's the problem with America. Everything is so binary. Everything that the red team doesn't like goes in the blue bin, and vice versa. So, you know, every Democratic politician
Gary's right.
should wear on his sleeve every silly, stupid woke thing that the fringe left does. And the red team has to wear kids in cages and, you know, lock her up and all that kind of stuff. But to that,
A quick question. Woke. The response from the people that you put it on will say, no. Woke is aware and inclusive. And there is no cancel culture, it's just accountability. These are not bad things, they're good things. Disagree.
well, woke, yes. I mean, I don't remember the day the term was born, although I hear AOC says only old people use it now. Well, you gave it to us like 5 years ago. So sorry we didn't get the memo. Right away, you know, that's such a high school thing. We're not using that anymore. We all wear pink on Wednesdays. Okay, whatever term you want. I don't care. Again, I just got used to this one. And yes, in its best sense, if we're talking about being aware of things that we always should have been
I
aware of.
love the
or
new expression.
things that we
You didn't
have,
get the memo.
uh,
That is totally woke, and it's
racial
woke
injustice,
stuff.
That's all a good thing. But there's a reason why the term woke has come to signify unifying, going too far and doing things that don't make sense. I keep saying this to the Democratic Party. The reason why you're so toxic is because you have become the party of no common sense. And you see this on their news feeds. I mean, you were saying to me in the break, people mostly go on with their lives, they do, but they see things on their phone or on their Facebook page, people pass things around, and it's a constant drip, drip, drip of, oh, these people are nuts. In a way, yes, Trump, they're not oblivious to the fact that Trump is nuts. When he ran, one of his big selling points was, you got no choice. He was saying, yes, I know I'm nuts, you know I'm nuts, but they're nuts in a very different way that's closer to home. It's that guy in the parking lot. I can't let people like that take over the country. People who regard children as just shorter adults, who should have an equal say.
I get it, but why would anybody embrace, if they want normal, a group of people / party who want to destroy all of the institutions that secure our
They
norms?
don't care about institutions. They don't even know about institutions, a lot of people.
So you don't think they care about
I think
the elections?
I'm gonna have to put this in there and watch this. This is too fun.
Some people don't trust, some people do. But if you do, I've seen surveys. Ask how many people in this country know that there are 3 forms of government. How can you defend the government and the institutions if people don't know what the government is made up of? Why is it important, they might ask, that we have, checks and balances? What are those 3 branches of government? That's the essence of what made this country great, is that they founding fathers, who have been canceled by a lot of people, which again strikes a lot
I
of people.
guess if I have a comment, I'll have to go in there every time, but
That was their genius.
because I'm sure this will be on YouTube so, in the near future. This is too great. Chris Cuomo and Bill Maher.
What happens in
Oh,
my home?
that's Bill
If my
Maher
kid
as
comes
well.
home from school, and tells me, they're telling me I'm a racist. What does that word mean, mommy? Is a young kid old enough to process that? Or it comes home and says, I think I'm a girl now, and the school says that, I think in California, you have to go by that. If, the child wants to change his name to a girl's name. That stuff is right in your home. That's at your kitchen table. That is the kind of stuff that is going to get people who go, oh, what he was doing, Trump in Ukraine, it was wrong as much as I read about it. But Ukraine's a long way away, and this is my house, and these are my children.
Now, the proof of that was the race in Virginia. And I want to talk to you about it, because the young kid went heavy on the school issue. And it was flattered for him because Terry McAuliffe, who got was running against him, said, just let them teach. Because you shouldn't have a say in what they do. And that resonated the way the plural did. So let's do this. Let's take a break. Let's come back and talk about what the new state of play is with Bill Maher. Who knows better? Certainly not me. Right after this.
As I say, the only rice I have is the calrosa, which is a sticky rice risotto. So, I'm going to experiment here. Because as I say, I've got these lentils I want to use that are already cooked. Little bit left. It had lentils, artichoke, there was some blue cheese in there, and dried tomatoes. So, fusion cooking. So I'm not gonna go to a restaurant for fusion cooking, but I do it in my kitchen all the time. Kind of do a the lentils, that's more Indian. Risotto, I've got some dried mushrooms that are Chinese. These are, I got fucking news. I'm trying to keep costs down because basically food and basics. So the landlord wants to screw me over. I mean, I'd have this place totally transformed, a bed and breakfast. It would be making money, rooms rented, everything working great. By this time, if instead of picking a fight with me, they'd work together and let me do the reforms this place needs. Instead, they produce all sorts of bullshit that's going to give me cause for a lawsuit where I got more than enough to end up owning the frickin' place. I'm doing the ideas that I have. Instead of getting pissed off and playing into their game, I just go, okay, when this is all over and we get to the end of the game and I clean up the courts and I got this house, let's see, we can break down this wall, we can open it up here, I got a whole slew of ideas. Basement, put like an oven and that does bread, one of those brick ovens. Oh my god. Want to do bread, pizzas and stuff like that. There's no other. And you got a lot of stuff with a brick oven. You put that down in the basement and actually that would produce an enormous amount of heat that you could then spread out through the house. You get some solar, which is not optimal in Washington, but you still could. And you could reduce all of the electricity and all that cost. But see, these people just want to sit around like parasites.
You can explain it away as ignorance of what CRT means. Here's my problem. I want to get this in. CRT means nothing but we don't know what the acronym stands for. It's really not taught anyway.
It's not even the three words that it stands for, and people are already going, CRT.
I don't like it. I don't want it.
Well, let's say what the word from.
Critical race theory.
Yeah.
And the people on the left will not be ignorant. They're too stupid to know.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. They still get voted. And fear overwhelms facts all the time in elections. That's nothing new. Understand it's very complicated with a very complicated history. So it's that you have families So we saw this resident issue. And I have people on all the time who reject this premise, but we just saw it play out, so it must be real to a lot of people, which is, we want to make white kids feel badly about what happened before them, and that their lives should be a function of making up for it. And I don't want that put on my kid.
Yes, the kids are taught and sometimes separated into groups, oppressor and oppressed. Again, does a kid even
That's
know
what I've been
those words
getting.
mean? Would they grab
I should be responsible for all of the
You're taking something that was getting better.
crimes of the past of the white people.
I think everyone recognizes, I'm thinking in my view, that still a lot of work needs to be done. Remedial efforts need to be taken still. Racism is part of America. But I did a thing one night about the progressive vote.
And my white people have been fighting all of this for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years.
Somehow, liberals
Wilcox.
have to acknowledge progress. You know, it's two
Cock
things
of Will,
at the same time.
a William,
Acknowledge that
is
we've
what.
made great progress on all the subjects. And yet there is still more work to be done. We're not saying
Fidus and audace
let's live in the year we're living.
in the family grid.
You can't come up with good solutions unless you're realistic about what the problem is. I mean, it was only like 10 or 20 years ago that no state in America would vote for gay marriage. I mean, it was on the ballot like 35 times. Now it's the law, and no one is against it. I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up in New Jersey, which is not a southern state, and it was a completely white town. Now, a vast majority of Americans want to live in a racially diverse neighborhood. That is a sea change, just in my lifetime. Again, not mission accomplished, but can we just acknowledge how far we've come and where we are right now?
And the pushback becomes, well, it's just the truth. We're just telling you the truth, is that racism continues, it's systemic, it's in everyone around us. You have to be taught where it is everywhere, because that's how we remedy it. And otherwise, it's hiding. Now, I mean, here's the problem. You say that all the time. Why aren't you concerned that whether it's HBO or whoever owns it in a minute, or the audience or some group comes and say, that's it, he's got it. Why aren't you afraid? Let's go with everyone. I'll take you to Friday. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, it's not Friday night and Saturday. I would say, if I haven't been canceled today, it went fantastic. Then it was a giant success. Of course, you don't think, no, they come after me every week for something. I mean, both sides, which I think is great. Maybe that's what's saying. I have both sides come out.
You know, and that's fairly new, because, not because I changed. My politics have not changed. I'm an old school liberal. It's, we're talking about the race issue. They changed, not me. I was the old, should be moving toward a colorblind society where we don't see race. That's the old way to look at it. I think that's still the good way to look at it. That's how we do it. But it doesn't matter if you're racist, the quality of your character, not the color of your skin. That's not wokeism. Wokeism, you have to see it everywhere, all the time. That's different. I don't know if that makes it better. But I am, for the first time, when I'm on the road now, playing to very often a politically mixed audience. That never happened, ever. And I don't think it happens really hardly anywhere else in America.
Why? Do you think there's an increasing separation?
I think
between
there are.
real people and the people who are in power over them?
I think there's a lot of old school liberals like me who don't like what's going on the far of the left. I always keep saying, when you're doing something that sounds like a headline in an onion, that's when you've gone too far. You know, Land of Lincoln cancels Lincoln. That really happened. You know, they tore down Lincoln. Lincoln isn't good enough for them. Seattle, the city council voted to decriminalize crime. This is an onion headline. You know, I saw one very recently. Maybe babies should vote. What do you mean about the party of no common sense?
In New York City, they took down Thomas Jefferson from in front of City Hall.
Yeah. You know, ACLU official advocates banning a book. These are onion headlines. And yet, this is where this party is. Or I don't think that's where the party is. It's where the faction that gets all the headlines. And again, it goes Democrats, and he put defunding the police up to a vote. It lost in the Senate 99. No Democrat voted for it. But if you ask the average person, are the Democrats for defunding the police? Oh yeah. That's the disconnect that the Democrats really better address.
Dave Chappelle and Senator Josh Hawley, two very different men, who are in the mix of what I think is the defining concern culturally about how we handle what we don't like. Let's take a break. I want to go through both of them and see what you see is the same, different, and if God helps us, there is a solution. I mean, we're not looking up, but it's just lights for now. Bill Maher, right after this.
I'll be interested to find out how much Bill Maher was paid by CNN to do that interview. Because CNN has been on my hit list since 2007. Because when I saw the crap that they were pulling on me in the courts in Spain, and that the American and the French consulates were hanging me out to dry, I went to CNN because I knew I was not going to get any help from the Spanish press. So I went to CNN. I went personally there and hand delivered a letter. It was really strange because at first the address I found, it's the street address. I didn't realize it was in Tres Cantos. Pretty sure it's Tres Cantos, but that's north, it's a suburb. And I got a whole impressive office, and it gave me an address for like a really bad neighborhood of Madrid. I mean, you talk about, you know, like people smoking pot. I mean, I had already seen this in the 90s when I wanted to buy an apartment near the Puerta del Sol, abajo del Sud, when we were going to get married, to reform it. And I said, I can do the reforms myself. I mean, a lot of it, as I've already done that on houses in the farm for my parents. And we'll have something that in 10 years worth a shitload of money, and these are gorgeous old apartments, but in horrible conditions. My husband's family, you're crazy, you gotta go to the suburbs. We would have had to go to where was I looking? It was even farther than Escorial to find anything that we could have been able to afford. And I was like, holy shit. And they're going back and forth, and we didn't have children yet. We weren't even married yet. But I was like, no, let me get hold of one of these things. I mean, I can't work until we get married, but let's go ahead. We can buy this, and I'd love to renovate the entire place. We don't have kids, so what do we care? You know, the neighborhood's not great, but it's going to turn around, and by the time it does turn around, and we do have, you know, young children, and we want to go out to the suburbs to have more space, we'll have a gold mine. And we can buy a really nice house not too far. I mean, we ended up doing that with the Villafranca house as expatriates. I mean, you know. And I had much more enjoyable life as an expatriate, a trailing spouse of a Spanish banker that I would have had if I had gotten into the financial markets in Madrid at the time. And also I think why my ex didn't want me in there, because with my resume and my perfect English, I would have skyrocketed and left him looking really bad.
Where we will or will not be very soon, maybe not even a full election cycle. Let's discuss it with Bill Maher. Dave Chappelle, John Chappelle. Dave Chappelle, two guys who are the crosshairs of helping culture reconcile what is and is not the same. Chappelle has a long history of going after trans people, not really LGBT, a little bit, but the homophobia is not as much of a push against him as what he says about trans. Does a special, and he says this is going to be the last one for a while. It's called The Closer, and he says he's being canceled because he's made jokes about that group. What do you think?
Well, I defend it. I'm Team Dave. And free speech. Well, first of all, you say going after, you use terms like homophobia. I was thinking recently about phobia. There's a word that's traveled quite a bit from its original meaning. A lot of mission creep on that word, phobia. It's become really just the way people, a word they use to say, I don't like something.
That's right, it's not a phobia.
Phobia is an irrational fear. Spiders, arachnophobia, given irrational fear. Okay, germophobia. I see all that hand sanitizer. You got to be germophobia.
There's one for shaking.
Which I never wrote, and still I'm not. But I don't think it's very homosexual, right? Or it's not transphobic. It's that this trans stuff is very new. I don't think he or myself or any other, again, right-thinking person thinks there aren't such things in the world as people who are trans, who are born in a body that doesn't align with what their brain is telling them. That's okay. But now we're talking about children. It's interesting. Someone I know, a woman in her 40s, said to me, somewhat recently, that when she was a kid, she was what they used to call a tomboy. She said, I never was interested in wearing a dress. I only wore pants until I was like 14 or 15. She said, if I was around today, they would have made me into a boy here in California. That's what we're talking about. This is new. So don't put it into this category of, this is settled science. Anything that
Hated. Oh my God, I would fight with my mother. We had a rule. We had to wear a dress once a week. No. I'm very happy to wear a woman. Oh my God, I've never had a problem with my sexuality.
Kids should not be really making decisions about their gender. I mean, Mario Lopez was almost canceled for suggesting that maybe 3-year-olds shouldn't decide their gender. This is not crazy stuff that makes you a bigot.
But having the opinion obviously has to be protected. His choice to make jokes about it. Now this is the luxury for me is I just have to present the argument out of this. It doesn't matter whether I start it or not. But the argument that was made that I don't think he handled. Okay, we'll say that. You're punching down at this group. This is a discrete minority. They've got a lot of problems being targeted and hurt. You are a powerful voice, and you making fun of them empowers the people who want to hurt them, whether you know that or not. Now that we've told you that, stop doing it. Is that a bad suggestion?
I don't know. I don't know what's in Dave's head. I mean, I'll admit.
Over you.
He is a little obsessed with this one issue.
Made a lot of money.
Well, I don't think he's good at money.
I'm not
I've
saying
always
he made a
preferred
lot
the
of money,
company
but
of
that's-
Ben.
This is just that he's not canceled.
I know.
But he certainly has lost
Because
some things. In that movie, he's now
we have
around
more in
door
common
to
in
door.
conversation,
That should have been available in different forms, but we see that happen.
but never for a moment
I think what's going on, I'm just surmising.
have I doubted.
But I think as a black man in America, he sees that
My sexuality as a woman.
trans
I mean,
people have been targeted. Nothing.
Even as a heterosexual woman, I don't know.
Anywhere near like
Frickin'
the black folks have happened.
homophobic.
So I
My
can see why that
God.
would be under the skin.
And he did that very eloquently, and I think opened a lot of eyes that, he put it in the context of a jealousy. That look how far you guys have come so quickly, and we're still struggling. And if
Anything that was outside the box of what she considered femininity, all of a sudden you might be a lesbian. Oh my God.
made things better. Or is that the point of the comment?
I go to Foxcroft, and my older sister goes to Smith College.
So Dave gets an attack for making those choices, and that's about what's okay and not okay. Josh Hall is on the other end of the spectrum of recognizing what is okay and not okay as a way. So Dave is
And I never realized how upset she was when I went to GW,
he's doing the same thing.
a Jewish school. My debutante party, I think, had partly to do with that, as well as my political ambitions. I think I set the woman ballistic. Where a liberal parent would be like, this is great. Oh, the debutante bullshit. The money spent on that, I'm using that with my Emily Post and Dowager now of Washington. That is not going to be lost money that my father worked very hard to earn. And never, and if everybody who owed him money had been able to pay him money, the money they owed him, the family would have never had financial problems, even though my mother, that was her agenda. She was going to destroy my father.
That's what a lot of people are saying. And now you're coming after me. You know, this whole idea of,
Je
like,
mélange.
you have two choices. You're either a racist or you're a racist and you don't know. You know, people who live a right-thinking life their whole life, that's not, why are you coming after me? You know, have I turned my life over to this issue? No, but I can't. I have a job and kids and a wife and what to do. You know, I can't do that. Now, Josh Hawley is a dangerous guy. Let's get to the essence of Josh Hawley. He's not wrong about this particular issue, but it's minor to someone who does not acknowledge what happened on January 6th. The much bigger question is, what do you do when there are people in our government who don't believe in our form of government? And he is one of them.
He'll say, no, I believe it. January 6th was bad and wrong, he said it and said it. You guys are only upset about it because you use it as a cover. You didn't care about the black people in our lives and not burning down the whole city.
Well, it's a false comparison, and it wasn't. And they weren't trying to stop a newly elected officer at the highest level of government from taking office. I mean, it's a pretty sobering thought that the Republican with the most backbone was Mike Pence.
But for Pence, I could have been very different, by the way.
I mean, when I mentioned Liz Cheney now, and the audience laughed, I'm like, oh, we love her now. This is not interesting.
Depends on
And I see why.
Let's see if she goes back to Biden in a couple weeks. But then again, who knows how long she's around.
That's her job to go after Biden. That's what Republicans do. They go after that. We did that forever. Republicans and Democrats and but also take all the other men who can have a drink after work. They can work together. I don't know how we'll ever going to work together. How do you we have how many QAnon members of Congress? QAnon. I'm all over the everyone. You got to
That's right.
Where does that negotiate?
That's an obvious problem. I think the bigger problem, and I'll take a break and then we'll discuss about this, is what goes unsaid, that people won't stand up. I believe the pandemic for us was a low point on a lot of different levels. We made ourselves sick workers, and then we kept ourselves there. I want to talk to you because you have a very interesting take on the whole situation. One more break. When we come back, Bill Maher on Where We Are.
Okay, now there's a break. So I'm doing my rice like different from risotto. I'm keeping the heat up. It's oh, now it's on low. But medium heat. Boiling these are Chinese mushrooms. That's what I've got dried, and just boiling because I'm gonna leave them to soak. But this should help and then taking the broth there, pouring it in, so that's kind of the mushroom taste, but a la Chinese. This is a nutty type of rice, so I've got some crushed up sunflower seeds that I'm going to put in with the rice while I'm cooking it. I'm trying to think if I put it in at the end. Because if I put it in the end, I think maybe I'll put it in now, because that'll help integrate the taste. And then top it up with some crushed peanuts that I have. Because I did this with sesame oil and peanut oil. And I don't have a decent wok, so I'm doing it the only decent pot I got here is there's a cast iron skillet, which is great. I mean, cast iron for me is the best to cook in. And then a saucepan. I mean, it gives me the basics. With those two things, you can make a lot of things. Now, would I adore my kitchen with all of the other, things that I collected over the years? Yes, but that's great.
Constantly trying to figure out where on that spectrum we should rank. They don't know if that is right to have a private corporation and resources dictating what the boundaries are. I think that with the right adjustments needed in Section 230 and improved regulation, Facebook and the broader industry can receive better guidance and where on that spectrum we should be.
Mija, ¿este es tuyo? She would have wanted to teach herself. Beautiful. Let's bake. Right now. 3 cups of harina. Una cucharadita. What's the sauce for me? Anti-stomach. My abuela always say that when she was cooking. Yeah? Yeah.
Now I was thinking this would be really interesting. Unfortunately, I don't. For a arroz con coco. If I had some coconut, shredded coconut or flaked coconut, that would be interesting to put in there and give it this arroz con coco. Because that mixes with the mushrooms, the cocoa, the coconut, and then the peanut flavor.
We made ourselves sick, literally and figuratively. Pandemic comes, people tell us, okay, it's going to be here, there's going to be a lot of cases, let's prepare. Top echelon governor, our president says, nah, it's not going to be that bad, we'll be fine, it will just be a few cases. Of course it doesn't. But it created a line where now we see almost exclusively on the basis of politics who buys into things about COVID and the treatment and the facts, who doesn't. How do you see it?
Well, you said we made ourselves sick. The bigger issue that is never discussed is we were sick. Before you get sick, you are sick. This is a very sick country, it still is. But physically. And why don't you talk about that? I mean, let's call it factor X. If there was a factor that was responsible for 78% of the COVID deaths and hospitalizations, wouldn't you have in the account. I said this before the pandemic. I said, we will never get health care right in this country. I don't care if you take Bernie Sanders' health care plan, Elizabeth Warren's health care plan, Joe Biden's. If nothing is going to work, and it wasn't working, unless people understand that that's in skin in the game. They have to participate in their own health. You can't expect just vaccines and pills or whatever else they have to do the job. And we never do that in this country. The last person that tried was Michelle Obama. And it did not go over well.
When we talk again, 8 months from today, hopefully we'll talk a lot before. 8 months from today, do you think things are better or worse?
Well, they're not going better for Biden for the Democrats, and I think that's getting 8 months to be close to the midterm election. I think they're going to get one thumped in the election. I mean, that usually happens in the midterm election, but, Joe, look, I'm glad he's there, but he's not exactly stuck the landing on a lot of the issues that he was dealing with. The time I'm worried about, I keep talking about, is election day 2024 until January 20th, 2025, inauguration day. Because again, if Trump loses, he will not say he lost. That will never happen. He will never concede, as I said last time. But this time, it's not going to be like last time. I mean, he almost pulled it off last time, and this time he's had 4 years to get those people in place. So what happens on January 20th, 2025, when he shows up for the inauguration? And Joe Biden, well, the Democrat who shows up for that inauguration. What happens then? That's when I want to be, on vacation in London.
So now my hardest situation, how do I say it to the next time? You shake hands, fist bump, what do you want? What do you want?
Came out, come on, let's get back to normal.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Listen, if normal was talking to you,
Yeah.
I'll take normal all day long. Bill Maher, thank you very much. Appreciate these gifts to you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Please more continues on CNN. Next.
I can't believe this. Bill Maher, I agree with a lot. I'll give it a percentage because I haven't watched it, enough, but I would say 70% off the bat. A lot of what he has to say. Same stuff I'm saying. Now, why am I not making a fortune like Bill Maher? Obvious reasons. Because he is totally on the left. People's family life choices, I respect. They have to respect mine as well. Career, family, and children. I want the same, I want to respect for that choice as much as anybody who chooses not to marry and not to have children. But he's again showing the problems of unmarried straight men as well as the gay men. When you don't have a family, and this is one of the things that having children,
annual enrollment period, which means today is one of the only days of the year you can update your Medicare coverage and benefits. It's
your egotism
call the number on the bottom of the screen.
changes
The
completely.
agent will look up your zip code and
You no longer are just you.
dental care, prescriptions, transportation, and
No,
loans.
your priority, and you will put your life on the line
Has the benefit that adds up to $148
to protect your children.
That's up to $1,700 a year added to your social security.
Changes your perspective.
To save money.
When you have a family and children and then grandchildren,
Don't miss the enrollment period deadline.
changes your perspective.
It's free. Call 1-800.
So this whole thing about
That's 1-800.
to be respectable, you have to marry and have children, and
Hundreds of billions of stars.
If you're homosexual, well, just keep it in the closet and have your everybody knows, but nobody says. Had its function, if you will. And I'm sorry, all the people, the LGBT community that I know, men and women, I'm sorry. I always supported you all people. Now, where's your support for me and my life choices and the rights of my children that I have always put, or their interest, before my own? As a mother, they might not always, well, even my rights, I never infringed upon them. I just planted my authority as somebody who was looking out for their safety and future, and who know better than them. And learned to know better through them. Marriage and children is not the yoke that all of these bitches want to promote.
Wrapping up a second day of deliberations in Kenosha, not verdicts. They're expected to get back to work at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We've got a lot more on this. And in Georgia, the trial of 3 white men accused of murder and the shooting death of a 25-year-old black man in Wyoming. Travis McMichael, taking the stand today as the first defense witness and describing the moment he shot Margaret. He, his father, McMichael, and neighbor William Bryan Jr. are accused of chasing down and killing Margaret when he was off job, but it took months for them to be arrested, which happened only after a video of the shooting. And as Albert Dalton Hospital, he said, quote, "We want to be more black people coming." Hundreds of passengers expected tomorrow in that town for a prayer visit to support the family. That is the defense team for the 3 defendants started their presentation to the jury today. Here's CNN's Ryan Duncan, very late. Travis McMichael fired his shotgun 3 times, killing Ahmaud Arbery. Took the stand in his own defense today.
He had my gun. He struck me. It was obvious that he was attacking me, that if he would have gotten the shot from him, then it was a civil life or death situation. And I'm going to have to stop him from doing it.
McMichael, the first witness for the defense, appeared emotional at times as he described his encounter with Arbery in February of 2020.
I turned around. We got her there and 14 after 100. He was deceased, and I looked up and the police were right there. After that, this boy, the shot from the wood.
During his testimony, McMichael said a neighbor pointed towards the direction where Arbery was first running. Travis said he grabbed his shotgun. He and his father got in their pickup truck to try to find him.
When we finally stopped, asked what was going on, he never says anything to me. He's still looking at me. This guy's, this could be volatile. It's kind of watching you.
Both McMichaels told police they believe the man running was involved in the recent break-ins they had heard about on social media. Minutes into the chase, things took a deadly turn.
I shot, from the first shot, I knew a shot, and then the second shot, I shot again because I was still fighting. I was still moving over, and he was still with a shotgun, and he was not relenting.
In cross-examination, the prosecution struck at the heart of the defense's claim. They were going for a citizen's arrest.
Not once during your direct examination did you state that your intention was to effectuate an arrest of Mr. Arbery until your attorney asked you that leading question. Isn't that right?
Yes.
The prosecution also pointed out that none of the defendants knew why Arbery was running that watching today's testimony.
Travis was on the stand, wiping tears from his eyes. But again, Travis is alive. I mean, the tears he shed today can you imagine the tears that we would share?
Well, Ryan Young joins me now. Ryan, good evening to you. Thanks for joining us, sir. Defense Attorney Kevin Goff, who is representing one of the other men on trial.
Had one for a nutty Asian. So I think if you go in and pull that switch card. So I'm debating whether to go with cardamom or coriander. I'm gonna do coriander. Cumin, ginger powder. I don't have any root, but also the root gives it a lot more taste. The ginger and fenugreek. This has a nutty flavor. Nutmeg is a bit similar, but it is different. It's I don't know how much. I have a lot of nutmeg, but I'm gonna go with this one.
I think it's those questions right there, because the prosecutor is going to have to really go back and Travis's testimony, especially when he talks about the training he received and the Coast Guard when it comes to law enforcement. You think they're probably going to ask some questions about why did they have to cut him off? Why was the gun close enough? Why did it shoot 3 times? These are all questions I think a lot of people want to ask, especially after all this time and all this wondering. And let's not forget that video, which was so many people have watched. We've seen it over and over again. So of course, we're probably going to have some more questions.
Yeah, it is nice that you have these 2 trials happening actually simultaneously. Thank you very much. Ryan Young will be watching as we continue to report this. Joining me now, Michael Moore. He's the former U.S. Attorney for the Middle District of Georgia. We're glad to see him. Good evening to you, sir. This was a surprise that Ms. Michael testified today. How do you do?
I really thought in this case, the defense doesn't have much of a case to work with here. And I don't think with Michael and Travis and Michael.
And chili as always, but I'm not gonna do the curry. I'm gonna add a little bit of cinnamon. I don't want too much of a cinnamon taste.
He wanted to be heard about his training and his Coast Guard time. You know, one of the things he said is that I know what deadly force is. He said that's why you don't hit people in the hand with a club. Which in this case, he confronts a man jogging down the street with a loaded shotgun. So there's a lot to work with if you're the prosecutor, and I expect she'll probably tear it up pretty good tomorrow.
Let me just play this for you, Michael. This is the moment where Nick Michael said what he was thinking when he shot on this one.
I was just going to trust me. I was just going to trust me with that front floor panel on the right hand side, and he turns and it's over. It's on, and he's watching the movie. He grabs the shotgun and I believe off the truck on that first instance that we had happened. I was thinking of the son. It sounds weird, but I was his first second.
Shot.
What? He had my gun. He struck me. It was obvious that he was dead. It was obvious that he was attacking me, but he didn't stop the shotgun from me. And it's so hard to that situation.
Well, my mouth is agape now because it was a deep then. He was chasing him. When they loaded the shotgun and tried to show him, what do you think of that against this life or death situation? He's just not going to happen. He created the shotgun.
And I think it's a ridiculous argument. Look, they chased the dog like an animal, and they ran him until he could run no more. And so the one thing he could do when you get spot a flight, they ran him out of steam. There was no more flight left. All he could do was fight to try to keep the guy from shooting with a loaded shotgun. Why is Travis out of the truck? those last 100 feet before he gets to the truck. What am I gonna do? What about my mom? Who am I leaving? This is great fodder and a great argument to be made by the prosecutor. And that's why I really think at the end of the day tomorrow, she is gonna wear him out on the witness stand. He's a typical witness for himself. And he wants to be heard. He wants to tell his side of the story. The fact of the matter is they chased an innocent man down without having any justification of the law, because even what they say, even the old statutes, that's been changed, and confronting him with a gun because he was a young black kid in America. That's what they're having to defend him.
Okay. Points very well stated. I'm not sure it matters much what you and I think or say on this program. It matters how it plays with the jury. You said you believe that the prosecution is going to keep him up. How do you think that played with the jury? Because we don't know. The juries are.
I think when you talk about his training and he talks to de-escalate by pointing a loaded gun at somebody, I don't think many people buy that. When you talk about his training and how you don't strike a man in the head with a club, because that's a deadly weapon. You don't use it. Well, explain to me why you approached it with a loaded shotgun, which we know is deadly for us. I mean, there are things that are going to defy any defense that he's putting up, and for the layman, they defy prejudice. And you have to sit there and say, what was Ahmad doing that was wrong, and what did you know? And the problem is that they can't rewrite what they told the initial responding officers. That is, all they saw was a kid running down the street. They had some more colorful language for it, her father did. But that's what they saw. And so you can't rewrite things. And I think a jury, I don't like the fact that the jury is composed the way it is. I don't think it represents the community. I don't think it's certainly disproportionately black jury. I think the judge recognized that. I think, but again, I know the lawyers in this case, some of them, and I think they're good people, but I don't think they're racist. I think they're making strikes and trying to pick a jury which I think will be advantageous to their clients.
They're doing their job to defend their client. That's what their job. That's what their job is.
It is their job. It is an important job. It's an important job because it also is about defending the Constitution, and that is to make sure that people get a fair trial.
Okay.
So you have to give them that.
Okay. Sometimes, honestly, when I think of these two trials, I have to remember, like, which one am I talking about?
Okay, this is really pissing me off. The Rittenhouse case. Because one of the things that they're doing is women who end up killing their husbands in self-defense, they're throwing in prison for murder. Now, if the courts, the police, and everybody else, and the lawyers were protecting these women, they wouldn't have to go there. I mean, I know believe me, how my children were thrown into this. My sons, they didn't understand what was going on. I didn't want them to understand what was going on. They were too young. This started in Bogota. They're still young. This is not for them to deal with. This is for the professionals to deal with instead of throwing them in as pawns in their disgusting money-making games. Okay. But I locked up. Everybody kept on saying, does he have a gun? Does he have a gun? I said, no, but I've got knives in my kitchen that can certainly kill me as fast as any gun. I had to lock up all of the knives for the kitchen. I mean, anything that could really cut and be used as a weapon. And any time my kids wanted it, I had to go in and unlock. That was in my chest for my stuff, horse riding stuff, where there was a lock on it. And anytime I needed to go in the kitchen and cook, I'd go up there, because I was like, if he comes in and he gets a hold of one of these things, that's just as lethal as any gun. No, we don't have guns here. That's all anything everybody concerned about. Does he have a gun? And do you want to go to a shelter? I said, no, I don't want to go to a shelter. I want you to protect me, to stand my ground. Why should I run and seek refuge in a homeless shelter because you motherfuckers can't do your job? And you're just screwing around with my life and my children's life. I went through all of the NGOs. I knocked on every single frickin' door that was supposed to help me. And they either laughed in my face or told me to fuck off, or took me for a ride on their bullshit. And this is the domestic violence industry, human rights industry, and all of the regulatory agencies, as well as the American consulate, embassy, and Spanish consulate and French consulate and embassy in Madrid, who had an obligation to defend my rights in the courts. Oh, God. This stuff about the Port Rittenhouse kid. Yes, he was in a situation he shouldn't have been in. Yes, he went into. I mean, me defending my home is not the same as the Rittenhouse kid. I mean, I don't understand this. You know, if a burglar comes in or somebody comes on your property that you don't like, you can shoot him and kill him if you're a man. But if you're a woman defending yourself so that somebody, your husband or some male member of the family is not going to kill you, no, that's not self-defense. We'll throw you in prison. Frick is you people's head. And then you criticize the Muslims for doing this? In Afghanistan and India, and you people are such hypocrites.
Thank you. Take care. A Republican congressman posts a video, a cartoon showing himself attacking the president and killing a congresswoman. Two Republicans.
And Don Lemon. Yeah, okay. Don Lemon, you've gotten on my radar. Would be in his interest to get me on his radar.
ever seen you take one? Everything. No. Everything. And Ray went, no. The freestyle user too. How he changes glucose levels when he needs to, and when he wants to. So Ray can be Ray. Take the mystery out of your glucose levels and lower your A1C. Now you know. Try it for free. Visit freestylelibre.us.
Are you ready to start a great career?
Daylight is now higher.
You will love your job
Thanks for your help.
and lots of opportunities. So what are you waiting for? Apply now and make a difference.
Sit like repair, sit like replace.
Man, I love that song.
Well, apparently you're appreciated around here.
I know, so that's why I go to Shepherd all the time. And these darlings, they're real, I'm so happy. Did you have to go to Shepherd? No.
Hey, there's been a mistake with payroll, not my fault.
Sorry.
Don't worry, won't happen again. We started trying to fill us for these kind of mix-ups.
And I'm like used to this lifestyle, so.
Trying to avoid yours, get back to business.
When you spend all your years serving others, when you leave by example, you don't just land on the nice list. You get rewarded by becoming the top-rated new vehicle quality in the automotive industry. Celebrate all the good you've done this year at the Grand Black Friday sales event.
Get one full year of no extra cost Sirius XM Plus and 0% financing for 72 months plus no monthly payments for 90 days on the 2021 Ram 1500 Bighorn.
Okay, everyone, I got this.
Are you a doctor?
Negative. I just watched this kind of medical dramas on TV. Good news, her kidneys are beating.
Send your 5 sports solution to Bring on demand for just $35 a month.
I need tweezers, rubbing alcohol, and a Western omelet.
With sleep, more confident you get the best of live TV.
You're gonna be fine.
Get your phone now for only $10.
Including up to $800 off added iPhone 13 and iPhone 13 Pro.
Who is the man in China? Strong man, authoritarian dictator. What does he want? China will stand up, and China's time is now. Police are covering reports. China's Iron Fist, Sunday at 9.
Also sit down and just take a moment, whatever it is you're doing, I think it's really important. It shows really well. Who goes back and thought that this is where this is, you know, everything that we've seen in the past, killing a colleague, and then repeatedly refusing to promote. Actually, a video of another member of Congress doing nothing, right? Refusing to take it seriously just 10 months after bloodthirsty rioters stormed the United States Capitol. The House voting almost entirely along party lines to censure Congressman Paul Gosar and stripping of his video signs for posting that video showing him going to kill Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and even appearing to attack the President of the United States, Joe Biden. And the vast majority of Republicans just couldn't live for zealously censuring only, no surprise here, guess who? Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney had the courage of their conviction. Voted with all the Democrats for the censure resolution. The most severe punishment, short of being expelled. Okay? Then in a rare moment, not seen in a decade, right, Gosar stood in the well of the House chamber as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi read out the censure resolution. Look at your screen. You see him right there, on the right side of the screen. The facts on the getting him added more. This is where we but get this. Only took him about an hour, just about an hour later, he was at it again, seriously. Paul Gosar retweeting a supporter, praising him, a tweet that tweeted, by the way, the same violent video, the one that he showed him attacking Alexandria, a Nazi supporter, watch.
It is sad. It is a sad day in which a member leads a political party in the United States of America cannot bring themselves to say that issuing a depiction of murdering a member of Congress is wrong. What is so hard? What is so hard about saying that this is wrong? This is not about me. This is not about Representative Gosar. But this is about what we are willing to accept.
Posting that video was wrong. Period. Full stop.
Ocasio-Cortez made a big mistake by making that speech in Congress. That little
Not really. After all, this is a man who just
brown-nosing, you know what, whore
and wait for it.
is up for a rude awakening when I get her up on a stand in the courts.
I rise today to address and reject the mischaracterization, accusations from many in the farm that the cartoon from my office is dangerous or threatening. It was not. And I reject the false narrative categorically. I do not espouse violence towards anyone. I never have. It was not my purpose to make anyone upset. I voluntarily took the cartoon down, not because it was itself a threat, but because some thought it was. If I must join Alexander Hamilton, the first person attempted to be censored by this House, so be it.
So, as we say, facts first, the fact is the censure vote against Hamilton, fake.
Mr. Gosar, you are no Alexander Hamilton. You must be held accountable.
The House Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying that the censure of Gosar shows the country that Congress has standards.
The resolution on the floor today is that accountability is the integrity in this House. We look forward to reminder to this Congress and to this country that the House is committed to upholding the highest standards of decorum in all that we do.
But does Washington still believe in those standards the Speaker talked about? I know it's a timeline. The country is built on this. Not that we always live in, but we aspire, right, to live up to them. Especially our leaders. All the office that can do is acknowledge the truth that we see. Other video issues, all of them do was say that he said, we're not going to give up anything.
Here we go again, censoring speech. The most fundamental liberty we have is our right to speak, our right to talk, our right to communicate, and they're going after that today. Because they don't like freedom.
Democrat policies are so pathetic and have done so poorly that the left has nothing else to do but troll the internet looking for ways to get offended and then try to target members and strip them of their committees. This is a dumb waste of the House's time.
Today, we're critiquing Paul Gosar's candidate. Next week, we might be indicting the Wile E. Coyote for an explosive ordinance against the Roadrunner.
This is where the Republican Party is right now, right? One of us can show everybody's in their corner. No matter what, you have to defend it. Usually, this is
It's all definition of abuse of power. Rules for thee, but not for me. That's exactly what's happening here today. House Democrats preparing once again to break another president of the United States House of Representatives. The Speaker is burning down the House on the way out the door.
the rules for the, he said that a bunch of times. I was like, was he talking about the former president? So catchphrases like that. Which will fit here? There's one thing I can think of that's the lesson. The problem is a very good lesson. Saying that over and over again, so that's what saying. Rules for me, not for me. Build that wall, whatever it is. Not saying it's right. You know, it's right, but it's on that stick. Anything turn into a chocolate sugar. Anything to all of this is just a preview of what is to come if the GOP is in power. And you can bet the whole plan on the assault on the book all across the country in the weekend of the last election. And we can make sure it's moving. But they're complaining about Democrats holding Hillstar responsible.
You are negatively and permanently changing the way this body functions forever. You are weaponizing the Capitol against minority members.
Okay, so think about it again. What he is missing here. You say changing the way the House functions. Whose fault is that? Is that the Democrats' fault? As I said, again, I don't belong to any party. But I do believe the only party operating in reality right now is the Democratic Party. But think about that. This is what he is not seeing. Forest for the trees, right? Changing the way the body operates Congress. Never before have Republicans had so little moral fortitude. Never before have so few Republicans had the courage to stand up like Al Kinzinger and Chris Cuomo.
This is not an issue about party. The glorification of the suggestion of the killing of a colleague is completely unacceptable. And I think that it's a clear violation of House rules. I think it's a sad day. But I think that it's really important for us to be very clear that violence has no place in our political discourse.
Well, Republicans think they're out of the leadership. Punishing Liz Cheney and planning to unpunish the QAnon congressman.
I guarantee you, there's no reason why I shouldn't have that. I've been told by, I don't know where it is, told by people, I've been told by everyone. Of course, I'll get any comments back. I'll get better ones than I had in the first place. There's no reason why I shouldn't have that.
This is a party that doesn't seem to believe that words matter. From bogus conspiracy theories to a violent video to the big lies still being spread by a disgrace, twice impeached, one term, insurrection inspired for that's the we saw how these lies got us to this so-called QAnon shamans who howled in faith of the Capitol during insurrection sentenced to 41 months in prison. Words matter, actions matter, lies matter. Even if you don't think it doesn't seem to believe that. The GOP suggesting that there will be retribution if they take power. Is the Republican Party becoming the party of the
$5 for the best kind of wings and with the best kind of celery sticks. Crinkle fries. Warriors, we have the reach. This is the dimension of imagination.
Okay, so this is fusion cuisine all over the place. Hot. I did jalapenos. I had some chili. Maybe I should have went it, but I did jalapenos instead of the Asian chili. Lots of garlic. I mean, it's not fresh garlic. It's
The easiest answers come from the hardest times. Like knowing to take care of ourselves because health isn't guaranteed.
on sale. This is the sales rack at Safeway. I go in the sales rack. 50-75% off of this stuff. I couldn't even buy fresh garlic. So I prefer fresh garlic. But, you know, couldn't pass on the price. So, since it's not fresh, I put in quite a bit of that. Dried tomatoes in the oil, because that makes some blender. With a jalapeno. So, and then, as I say, I'll do the lentils because they're already cooked at the end. Voila, my evenings while I'm waiting to be evicted.
Create Transport can help your small business with more aims than you realize. Shipping, packing, and boxing, save you time for creating.
I live on a tent in the street like everybody has been trying for the past 15 years. I just keep on telling all of these foes, and my mom told me in 2007, is it an enemy? Is it a friend or a foe? Oh God. See, everybody in this world, it's a friend or a foe. And you're only a friend if you agree with them 100%. If you don't, then you're a foe. That's the reality. So it's come out sticky like a risotto. But
You matter to us. You deserve to bank with dignity.
tastes okay.
Join us for
Like,
more vibrant
oh,
future. Spectra Credit. You
not the mushrooms that I've reduced.
learn more about our inclusive culture at spectracu.com.
Maybe
Xfinity rewards are our way of thanking
let
you
them,
just
you know,
for being with us. Enjoy rewards like getting a
leave them for a while,
on us. Xfinity
then fry them up in a bit of oil
exclusive experiences like the chance to win tickets to
with
see
some
Rock the
shrimp
Live.
or that,
Tasty recipes
and then
from
the
all those top
peanuts.
chef testants that'll have you cooking like a pro. The
I'll see
longer
that
you're with
comes
us,
out.
the more rewards you can get. Join for free on the Xfinity app. Our thanks to your rewards.
I mean, one of my favorite Chinese things is kung pao chicken with the peanuts.
So let's see, I'm sorry. We're not hearing apologies from the minority leader McCarthy or Congressman Gosar over what happened with that terrible video. Instead, the GOP is
Believe me, I'm a connoisseur on that one.
if they take back control. Why is extremism, threats of violence, why are they between pillars of the Republican Party? Explain that, please.
Well, a couple reasons. This would have been a very easy choice. The Republicans wanted to move past this. They would have very quickly just said, we can done this, let's move on. Members of Congress should not threaten other members of Congress. They didn't want to move on from this. This was the meal. They wanted to sit on this and then have this display of the craziest members of the caucus today, the Goldbergs, the Davises, the Greens. They wanted this because it feeds Trumpism and where they want the party to go. The reason they have embraced the extremism is because Trump laid it out for them. Plus, it's
See, it's all about where they want the party to go. Party politics. And the American people, fuck you. Excuse me, they're crude and graphic. That's the crux of the situation.
Is there, and we're putting more of what we heard, but is there a place for people like you to party?
Oh, definitely not. I mean, no, I'm very lonely island. I can see it. But no, and I interviewed things in the paper Rolling Stone. And it's like, who are your voters? Because I'm into this message, but who else? And he said, well, there are about 6 of them, and I can give you their names. So it is a very small, lonely island, because the party has left where we thought it was. It's been very disorienting and disappointing, but clearly we are not, we are not the relevant voices.
John, more of what we heard from the right.
They don't like freedom. You can see it. They don't like it. This is wrong. We know it's wrong what they're doing. Our politicians know it's wrong. You took the video down. You put a statement that it is not illegal violence to anyone.
But you see, when others on the other side of the aisle incite violence, it's okay. Because it's words for thee, rules for these, but not for me.
And why is it so hard?